There it is. Hi, everybody. This is Cheryl, and this is my Cyber Training with Epiphany channel. Today, as you can see, I have an amazing guest with me to talk about some things. We normally have very, very good conversations. So I told them we need to go live and do this so other people can hear the stuff we talk about, okay? So Dr. Phillips, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Wesley Phillips, and Cheryl and I, we teach cybersecurity to a whole bunch of people, and we try to make it more challenging, as real as possible.
Okay. All right. So as you can see from the banner going across the screen, we're going to talk about two different things today. First, we're going to talk about diversity in cyber, and the title is "We Create Cyber Insecurity with Lack of Diversity." Okay. Now, all of these ideas that you're going to hear today are our own. They're just things that we talk about, you know, as we're working together. And the second thing we're going to talk about is making training more real. Okay, making it more like the real world. All right. So first, let me share the screen so you all can see. And everything I show you all today, everything we talk about, I'm going to put the links in the description, so you can go there and read it on your own, do your own research, all that stuff. Okay. Okay. So the first thing I want us to talk about, Wesley, is diversity. Okay, in cybersecurity. Now, as you know, I'm just getting into the field. And, for the short time that I've been here, I've heard a lot about the lack of diversity in cyber, especially the lack of women in this area. So because I hear a lot about the lack of women, I wanted to get more broader demographics too. So this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics 2017. Now, if you want to go to the website, to the BLS website and look for the 2020 stuff, you can do that. But that website is, oh my God, there's so much stuff on there. I'd have been there forever, I think. But if we look at these numbers just really quickly, male, female, white, Black, Asian, and Hispanic, you can clearly see that there was a disparity in 2017, and there's still one. There's still one today. You can go to different organizations, ISACA and stuff like that, and they do diversity research, and there's still a disparity, which goes with a lot of the stuff that's going on in government and in other industries. Okay, so this isn't anything new. All right. So now you've been in this area, IT and stuff, for a long time. Let me just say that. What did it look like in the places where you worked?
The majority of my coworkers were men.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 98% men.
Wow. Wow. Okay. What about right now? Has it always been that way for all the years you've been in here?
For the most part, yes. Now, currently, I'm in a different position. I'm a supervisor, and there are maybe tops 4 out of 40. Out of 41 employees, I think 4 are women.
Okay, that sounds about right. That sounds about right from the stuff that I've been reading. Yeah. So now I've been reading that one of the main reasons for that is we as women, we don't even think about cyber as a profession. Like, that's just not something we even consider. We don't think about going to computer science or majoring in computer science, in universities and stuff. That's what the research says. And me personally, I know this is something I shouldn't say all the time, but I do, is that I'm not good at math. So anything that has anything to do with numbers, I run, run in the opposite direction, but and I can see that. I can see that for a possible reason why these numbers are the way they are. But as far from a male perspective, like I'm not sure if men also see the same thing. Women just won't be able to keep up or something like that. Like, I mean, what do you think about that?
I don't think it's that at all.
Okay.
You know, women are they generally their brains mature a lot faster than guys do. But this particular field, cyber security, take off cyber and you just have security. Traditionally, mostly men would do that.
That's true. I didn't even think of that. That's true.
Traditionally, mostly men would go fight the wars. We've transitioned. We're transitioning. A lot of women have been in every war, in some role or capacity, primarily support. But of course, now look at Afghanistan and Iraq. We've had women right there on the front lines. It's a new world. We're in a new world, and the cybersecurity threat. I think the women are coming, but our priorities in life, in general, maybe like the need or want for wanting to start a family, getting a significant other, taking care of a baby or something, a family. I think that those things may get in the way sometimes.
Yeah.
There are way too many factors of things that can get in the way. But okay, I just want to work in IT and then I want to do cybersecurity. I think cybersecurity has a cool factor.
It does.
And I think that's why a lot of men work in this profession. And I'm not sure if that's a draw for most women.
Yeah.
So I look at it as an alpha male profession, which there will be some females that will come here and do just as great as that next alpha male next to him or her. What I don't understand, though, is why the disparity in compensation between a man and a woman with the same skills and years and so forth. I have a friend of mine who works for a government agency, I guess I'll say, and she is the second person in charge, like the ACIO. And she told me, "Do you know how hard it was for me to get here?" And I said, "No." And I don't know how we got on this this topic, but she told me that everyone in the room would talk about a problem and what should they do to resolve it. She didn't say anything because she felt like, okay, I'm lucky enough just to be in this space right now.
Yeah.
Right. And that's sad in itself. Why is that? That's our culture. Right. It's beyond organizational culture. It's just, I don't know, the American way, maybe. Yeah. But now she's in this meeting. They finally say, well, we don't really have any good ideas. What do you think? And because they opened up the door for her to step in, she had a choice to make. She gave her opinion. It was a very factual based opinion. They discussed it. Ultimately, of all these executives, and there were a good 10, 15 people in the room, and these are all executives in government, they actually followed her suggestion. Her suggestion was the most wise statement.
Yeah.
And because of that, now everyone remembered her. And then the people who are ultimately in charge, the top one or two people, they would say, hey, come to me. I want to talk to you. I need you to go do this. And then she performed. She got it done.
Yeah.
Now, today, she's the CIO.
Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because now on the screen, we have what we typically think of when we think of diversity, male, female, black, white, all that stuff, right? Age, sometimes, the person's age. But if just like you explained, even if you have all of these people in the room, but their voices are not heard, you know, that's totally negating everything you've done. Because now, which leads me to the next thing I want to show here, right? This article that I wrote called "The Racism and Diversity and Inclusion Programs." Now, having worked in government for a while, okay, I've seen them come and go, okay, and even outside of government, you know, I'm sure it's the same way. I know it's not just in government; it's all over. You see them come and go. These diversity programs that are there supposedly to increase diversity in the organization, but like I said, you can do that. You can increase diversity, your demographics from, you know, 30% female to 50% female or something like that. But again, if their voices are not heard, if they're not given, their voice is not given the same attention and consideration as the other people, you just canceled out everything you've done, because we're moving from diversity and inclusion, which is what this article is about, right? I'm saying that, and I have a link here for those of you who want to read it. What I'm saying is that, first of all, we need to stop calling it diversity and inclusion. Okay, that's the first thing, because those two words imply certain things. Okay, the word inclusion implies that somebody has to include me. Who is it that's going to include me? Who has the power to do that? Okay, and if they have the power to include me, that means they have the power to exclude me. So that what progress am I making, okay, by that? So we need to start thinking more in terms of equity, is what I'm saying in this article, okay? We really have to, because when my voice is heard, that's true equity. When you are really giving weight and value to what I say, just like you give to the person who doesn't look like me, you know, now there we go, okay? And that's really what's needed here is equity, and including people, you know, not just based on the way they look, but even on their background. Like my background is in training and development, okay? My degree is in social work. I'm a social worker. Moving into cybersecurity, I feel that's included in diversity as well, you know, in having a diverse workforce.
You know, I look at your title, the Racism in Diversity and Inclusion Programs. You know, obviously that is a problem of sorts. Racism is generally a very biased term. You know, I believe in this and you believe in that, and we just clash, and we're supposed to try to get along, but we're really not.
Before you go further, let me tell you, in here I address that, right? And I talk about how in the book, there's two books that I read. One was So You Want to Talk About Race, and the other one, I forget the other one. It's in here somewhere, but the author defines racism is not about the actions of individual people. That is not racism. It's not about individuals. She defines it as any prejudice against someone because of their race when those views are reinforced by systems of power. Her definition of racism is about the system that's backing up the way that person or that group thinks. Just like up here, the first thing I put in here was about those 4 kids that were killed in the church bombing in Alabama, and how Dr. Martin Luther King said, we must be concerned not merely about who murdered them, but about the system, the way of life, the philosophy which produced the murderer. He said the same thing. It's not individuals. It's the system that's backing up, what they're doing. That's where racism lies, in the system, not in individual people.
I don't disagree with that.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I'm trying to be careful what I say here, but I used to work in law enforcement,
Mhm.
and they say the justice system is blind, and they have images like the scale and how it's imbalanced and everything. So I can see that. I you know I'm really not into politics, but just look at what's going on today in the political arena.
Mhm.
Um, Something's going on. I think our system needs to be reevaluated sometimes just based on certain decisions that are made. And it's not like I wanted to come out my way. I just don't understand because I know that certain people on certain levels in life, if they would have done, say, half of what some people have done in life, they would have been under the jail.
Mhm.
Life would have been really bad for them a whole lot earlier than a lot of this stuff that taxpayers have paid their money on, and
Yeah.
in courts and presidents and other companies and stuff that get going on. So if you're a relatively well-to-do person, you have a little bit of latitude to stand up to work within a system a little bit better than if another person that may not have a little bit of money or some people that they may know.
See, it's
Or
like what we talked about. Remember the course we did? We did that entrepreneur course, and we talked about social capital, cultural
Mhm.
capital, and economic capital, right? Those
Yes.
three things.
Yeah. So those factors, um, in addition to other local community and government factors, those are things that we all contend with.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on who you are, you can get a ticket for speeding, and uh, if you don't have an attorney or can't afford one, uh, or if you can afford an attorney, maybe you get the ticket thrown out and you go to a little weekend, little class, and you get the DUI knocked down to something minor. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but if you don't have that, and you could have a very legitimate reason of why you're speeding, although you were wrong, um,
Mm-hmm.
man, life is going to be a whole lot more difficult for you. And then when you hear these stories about how someone else got favor and you did not, was it my race? What was the reason why that happened? Why did that happen to me? Why did that? Why did I get off and you suffer so badly, and
Mm-hmm.
vice versa, depending on the situation?
And that's what I'm talking about here, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is that current diversity and inclusion programs, including those that are in cyber organizations, because there's a lot of programs out there, meant to increase diversity in cybersecurity. What I'm saying here is that those programs are not meant to change the system. That's not what they're there for. They're there to placate people, to make it seem like change is being made. That's why with almost every time, if I see another Black or other my so-called minority being put in charge of a diversity and inclusion program, I'm gonna choke myself. They make that seem like this, this is the answer. Like this is gonna change everything. However, like I talk about in this article, do those people get a budget? Do they get the opportunity to actually change policy and regulation in the organization? No, many times they don't. They're in charge of putting on ice cream socials, having people have discussions about stuff. It's very, very surface. So that's just my point here. So what I'm saying is that for uh, cyber, for individuals who are starting, diversity and inclusion programs in cyber, that's something they need to look at. There has to be a paradigm shift because we've had diversity and inclusion programs for umpteen years. And the numbers, the decision makers still look the same. Okay, the people who make the most still look the same. All right. So why is that? That's all I'm saying with that. And finally, before we move to the training stuff, this is a workshop that I went to by Arbinger Institute. Now, I don't work for Arbinger. I'm not telling people to go to them, whatever. This is just something that I liked, I enjoyed, and I thought something like this would help to shift, create some kind of movement in the system, not just in individual people, okay? Because this is about mindset. This training is about making different decisions, right? Not just taking different actions, right? And the people who make the decisions. All right. So this is really good. I mean, if you're interested in it, folks can look into it or whatever. All right. So before we move on to training, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to cut you off at all, but
No,
when people work for an organization, they generally try to make their bosses happy.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want, boss? And we conform to that. If you don't conform to the organizational culture of where you've just come into, then you're against it. You're not exactly aligned with it. You're going against the grain, and maybe we made a mistake in bringing you on. So there are a lot of different factors that go along with everything that you said and why people make these decisions. Because I hear this all the time. Well, I'm an out of the box thinker. Okay, but we also think within the box, and if you think outside of the box to the wrong person, and it goes against what their mission statement is, and you can't tie that in, Houston, we have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And when people are coming into organizations, we need to study that mission statement and those objectives and goals, and decide, okay, this is for me, honestly, or this is not for me. Because if it's honestly not for you, well, then there are other organizations out there, and then maybe you have to struggle and work towards that. But that's not how we think. Man, I need a job. I got to pay my bills. I don't care what's going on. You're going to pay me how much money? I'm going to get my foot in the door and I'll work my way up. And you know what? They got this program here. I may or may not agree with it, but you know what? I'm here. And the end of the day, you're paying me and I'm getting paid, and that's all I want. What do you want me to do for next week? You want me to do an ice cream social? Oh, that's not really going to work, but they did it last year and it was a great success. Okay, we'll do another one. This is going to be the best ice cream social ever because we're going to have 51 flavors this time.
Cherry vanilla. That's my favorite right now. Cherry vanilla.
Cherry vanilla is tasty.
All right. Okay, so next, I want to talk about training.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you created a wheel that I want you to talk about, but before we get to that, I put the link to this podcast in the description, and if you get a chance, please listen to it. All right. Someone shared this with me a couple of days ago. In the heat of the moment, how intense emotions transform us. 59-minute podcast. What it's about is the hot brain and the cold brain. And this is something that many of us are familiar with. We may not be familiar with those terms, but we're familiar with the concept, is that, especially if you work in training and development, okay, is that and they have a lot of really great examples of when you are learning something. Let's say, for instance, you're learning, what's something you can, so one of the examples they use here that we're all familiar with is, this lady was learning about having protected sex, okay, safe sex. She did it. She was even a teacher, she taught it, okay? And we learn that. We learn that in school. We learn what's the safe thing to do, things you should say, what you should have with you, all of that. We learn that, we know that. But she said when she was in the situation, now this is the teacher now, okay? When she was actually in that situation, her decisions did not line up with her training. And that's because she was in what this podcast calls her hot brain, okay? Your hot brain is where all kinds of emotions, chemicals, hormones, all kinds of stuff have risen to the surface. So now that is your context. Now you have to make a decision within the context of all of these emotions that you did not feel when you were in training. Okay, so you make a totally different decision in training than you make when you're in the actual situation. Okay, now that's an everyday thing, example, but I think it really applies. It applies to anything, but it does apply to cybersecurity as well. When when I'm learning how to do certain things, in cyber, vulnerability analysis, malware analysis, all that stuff, right? I know how to do it. I know the steps. I know all the steps to ethical hacking. I know all that. But now I'm in an organization, okay, that has a certain budget. These people have certain personalities. The leader don't want to do this, or you know what I'm saying? That's in context. That context is very different than the one in my training. Okay. So how can we make it more real so that I will actually make a good decision in context, and not just when I'm in training. So I'm going to pull up your wheel so while you comment on that.
That's an interesting situation. You are so right. We always say, hey, well, if that was me, I would just do this.
Yeah.
But, just like when we ask those kids, when we put them through those ethical situations about, hey, you're a aspiring cybersecurity professional, but you now have the opportunity to hack into the teacher's desktop because the teacher walked away and get all of the answers to the final exam.
Yep.
After that, you are done. And okay, you got that information. So what are you going to do? You're going to use it. You're going to share it with your friends. And what did some of those students say?
Oh,
absolutely.
No. Some of them said no. They said if you're looking for the right answer, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But
so there was some. I don't know if they were trying to be funny or if they were just trying to be real.
Yeah.
But whatever the case is, they were being honest. Now, if their parents were there, we can almost prescribe what the answer would be. Oh, absolutely not. Although there are a couple of smart Alex that I know would have said, well, I'll just do it just because that's who I am. I can kind of see who those are. But the thing is, too, to work in cybersecurity, usually it's going to require an individual to obtain a clearance.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people today, they use social media. They don't exactly monitor what they do and what they say online.
Right.
Because and when they do background checks, they look for everything. And if you're not honest about it, you won't get the opportunity to do this type of work. And in some cases, even if you are honest, well, you don't fall in the category where you're not worthy of trust, and we don't really want your type of person. So, admitting that you're going to just steal answers and so forth is something that has bitten popular people in the butt, if you will. There was a German minister of defense, I think. He was a rising star. He was so popular he could have become president. They found out that he what's that thing called? He
Plagiarized.
yeah, he plagiarized. He
Yeah.
rewrote someone else's thesis or his dissertation, and several pages of it were exactly from someone else's source. And he not only lost his doctorate degree title, he also lost his German defense minister position that he was outstanding at. He was really great. So, cheat one time and no one knows about it and you didn't atone for it, it can come back and bite you in the butt later.
Mm-hmm. Before you get to your will, can you talk like really, really quickly about your E squared, C squared model and what that means for cyber professionals?
Oh, well, I don't exactly want to call it a model, but I was helping people to learn skills and earn certifications so that they can get jobs and or transition into maybe management or get a promotion. Some
So
people
what
to
does that
get
stand for? What does E squared, C squared stand for?
sure, I'll get there. And it's really simple. So E square C square was E is for education. The second E is for experience. The C is for certifications, and the last C is clearance. And if you look on any position announcement, you'll see that a lot of jobs today are looking for, okay, you must have bachelor degree, master's degree, etc. Must have 5 to 6 years experience. Must have um, Security Plus, CISSP, PMP certifications. Must have top secret SEI clearance. And how do you get your foot in the? I mean, now what I think is crazy about that too is they even want that for like people just getting their foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these employers and these HR people, they need to just realize, wait a minute, are you looking for like seasoned veterans for
Yeah.
every job? Or are you looking, you have to kind of tear it up somehow, some way. But E square, C square was just um, me trying to empower the individual to always be diversified.
Yeah.
So, some positions that you may want may require a bachelor degree, even if you feel that and I'm speaking in general, even if you feel that you can do that job all day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if the announcement said that the individual must have a degree, well then you really should not apply for it. You're going to waste your time. Whereas if it says if it's ideal if the person has a degree, well
Mm-hmm.
then maybe your experience can outweigh that education at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Keyword there, maybe. Then when it comes to certifications, um, I have helped many people just get certified, learn all of the skills. I try to give them a project so that they can have a something tangible to show their employer or the potential employer during the interview. But at several years ago, just earning a Security Plus, $90,000 a year job right off the rip,
Mm-hmm.
just because you passed the test. Someone got wise, people and industries got wise. We got all these people that got this certification, and they still really are not performing to the level that we need them to. They don't have the education or the experience. They went to a 1 week boot camp. They studied for another week or two and got certified. Now they're here, and we got to control this thing. What is it that we really want? So that educational mix of E square, C square is what I believe a lot of employers need to weigh with their with those program managers.
Mhm.
Not everyone's going to come in certified that is going to actually still fill the bill. They
See,
may come in.
that's
Mhm.
where this hot brain stuff comes in, right?
Yeah,
And the stuff you have on your wheel here is that the training that they do take out there, okay, even the certification stuff, which we know from experience, you just packing in a lot of stuff, okay?
yeah, it
How
has.
can we add even context to that so that when they do get on the job, they have a
Right,
better chance, you know?
right. So diversifying an individual's education or E square, C square is vital too. Whatever it is that you want to do, everyone, in my opinion, needs to have a good blend of all that.
Mhm.
I will tell you, you don't always need a degree to do a job well. You don't always need experience to do a job well. Keyword is always. Don't always need a certification. You don't always need a clearance. But we're in the DMV.
Mhm.
There are a lot of other people not in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, DMV. And in the DMV, you got to have that.
Mhm.
You got to have that if you want to make that top money and just to live here. The homes, the cost of living is very high. DMV, New York City, maybe California and other places like that. It's competitive.
Mhm.
So in order to stand out amongst the competition, you want to check all those boxes on E square, C square.
Okay. So
Otherwise, go ahead.
no. Otherwise,
Otherwise, to try to, but everyone has to start somewhere. Traditionally, that is, high school, college,
mhm.
volunteer work to get your experience, start your own company, become an entrepreneur, solve a problem. You may make money or not, do something for your church or your community.
Mhm.
You know, um, keep your nose clean. Don't do stupid things online or otherwise, so that if you do get an opportunity to find a job with a clearance and you don't have all that other stuff, because it's very possible, then okay, or at least you have a clean record. You're not smoking weed and showing pictures of you doing it and drinking on Facebook and doing crazy stuff like that. And these are things that I know that have happened to people, and all of a sudden, and they were trying to get into cybersecurity and they lost their opportunity because of that. And I felt really bad for these young men and women.
Mhm.
But E square, I mean, this wheel here,
Yeah. Mhm.
years ago, I was trying to answer that question right there. What does it take to become an effective and recognized cybersecurity professional? So, we brainstormed about it, um, came up with all this content. And then instead of saying, okay, this is it, I presented it to, we had this, we were in Richmond and we had this like a meeting. I
Mhm.
forgot. It was like a meetup. It was a meetup. And we came there and I was showing them some different, I'm a hackathon coach. So I was showing them some little hackathon um, problems that we can solve. And I asked them to answer this question, gave a blank piece of paper, right? Tallied up everything on the whiteboard. And in the best case, I think I had 4 out of these 7 things. Um, so the foundational knowledge, that's basically your education, right? That's going to hopefully give you that experience. That experience can be at work or even at home in your personal life. Gain the experience, whatever. Just solve that problem. Fix whatever it is that you want, so that you can get it, obtain it in your life. You want experience, you want to do cybersecurity, do it. There are way too many things out here to technical skills.
Mhm.
Well, I can recall when I first got started, and my employer sent me to A plus certification, and I'm sitting there like, why are you sending me to A plus? Now I was a law enforcement officer, so I was trying to figure out why I was here. Best thing that ever happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that all of that stuff that I kind of naturally resisted would give me the opportunities that I've had today.
Yeah.
And then I used to resist. So I learned about hardware and software, technical skills. But I used to resist programming. I hated programming.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I needed all of the people above me. You don't need that. You just need the hardware and the software. I wish I would have started earlier, but today I feel I'm actually proud of myself. I'm even proud of you. Linux, Python, command prompt. Can you do it? You can solve a lot of different problems. And even in software security, cybersecurity elements, the developers and the engineers and architects, they need to incorporate that programming skills and security practices together from the very beginning of the project all the way to the end. Soft skills, critical thinking, problem solving. Okay, you're applying for a job. The CEO's like, you know what? Let's just cut the red tape. I know you're smart and you're great and you want this job. I have 3 problems right here. Can you solve them? I'll be back in 10 minutes. Let's see what you got. Now that is a test. Mm-hmm. That's a real world test. That's like what you're talking about, that hot brain, cold brain thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, 10 minutes later, CEO comes back. Well, I really didn't do this in school and I don't know anything about that and blah, blah, blah. Well, what do you think? You think the person going to get the job? No. But Eve, you'd be surprised. But anyway, even if the person just do something, define something, figure out how to do something, how to learn, how to solve problems on your own. That's why I enjoy doing things like Pico CTF or immersive labs and
challenge.
Say again?
Which is the challenge is part of the wheel that you're talking about.
That comes in there next, but those enhance your soft skills because you're working individually and or with teams. And I like to put students in many teams and we monitor them to solve the same problems like I was talking about with the CEO, because when they start getting used to that in the classrooms, trying to make it more real, they're going to start to depend on that person next to them. And when someone is not there, you know what? I'm going to use those same principles I learned when the team was there to try to solve this problem the best way I can still. Mm-hmm. So even if you can't solve the CEO's 3-question problem, if you can exercise that type of framework to attempt to solve the problem, you very well may be surprised at what happens at the end of that meeting. Yeah. Even if you don't get the job, they may say, I really like the way you did this. And that's always better than, you know what, you didn't get the job. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
That's kind of like when we were talking about a while ago, how I was looking at how people, I think it was Google, some of the interview questions they're asked. And one of the questions was something like, how many sheep are in Australia? Okay. Mm-hmm. They're not looking for a right answer. They're looking for what kind of thought process are you going to use to get to whatever the answer, could be. Just saying, I don't know, like that's not right. What they want to hear. They want to hear, how would you figure that out? So it's the same kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing, I think. Yeah.
And that's why the challenges section is so powerful, because it's going to incorporate that foundational knowledge, that technical skill, what you know how to do. The soft skills, which helps address what you don't know how to do. I am a critical thinker, a problem solver, someone who thinks outside of the box. But you just asked me 3 questions, and I can't get that. And Houston, we have a problem. In teaching cybersecurity students some of these hackathon questions and problems, and these trying to develop software to solve a real world problem. That is a great trend that helps people, cybersecurity people, even if they have just an interest in cybersecurity. You can go to a hackathon, get with a group, they welcome you in, and next thing you know, when you walk out of there, you will not be the same. You're going to be like, I know how to solve command prompt and Linux and Python problems, and I don't even know the language.
Yeah.
But I know how to figure it out.
Yeah.
It empowers you. So challenging yourself is always going to make you a little bit better. You won't know everything. I still don't know everything. Lord have mercy. But you will say, man, all right, bring on the next challenge. I'm ready. What's next? And then, of course, certifications. That's what companies want. So guess what? People are going to get it.
Yeah.
You got to get it. Getting certified does not mean you're an expert. You just earn a rite of passage, an opportunity to get your foot inside of the door. Now, in order to keep your foot in the door, you will still have to continue to enhance those foundational knowledge, that the technical skills, the soft skills, the challenges, and maybe even another certification. You got to enhance it. And you're going to build a cybersecurity portfolio. It could be just a generic portfolio, but since we're talking about cybersecurity, which vertical do you want to work in? If you want to concentrate on software development, there are going to be certifications and skills and other continual learning training that you have to do for that. If you want to do malware analysis, you're going to have to learn skills for that. You may want to do computer forensics or whatever. There's so many different lanes in cybersecurity. The learning will never stop. I think some people think, well, when they see cybersecurity, that they have to learn it all.
No.
You don't. You can't. As an educator, I know a little bit about a lot of them, but there are some things that I'm like, let me go get my friend Mo and have him talk to you about that. I'm going to stay in my lane. And then there are things I'm stronger at. And then I just go into depth with that. And I may overwhelm you, but that is never the intention. The continued learning piece is constant. So in developing this wheel, while we were doing Cyber's Future, this is what we call the learning path for students to work their way up from the beginning. From the bottom up. But a lot of people try to fast track their way in cybersecurity. Oh yeah, I took my Security Plus course and I did it for 2 weeks of study. I passed the test the first time. I'm a cybersecurity expert, level 2 DoD 8140 8570. Houston, you got a long way to go.
Right.
To actually start understanding how this works. And that is not just the educational portion. There's a lot of practical knowledge. And that's the good thing here. The challenges, the technical skills, the soft skills, that's a lot of practical knowledge that we're trying to get people to do in the educational environment, trying to make it more real, as you say, which is also, I think, what I said in my introduction. When I learned cybersecurity and earned my master's degree, and information system security and project management. I could write the best PowerPoints and try to convince you and tell you what the book says about, yes, this is how it should be done.
Yeah.
But then I graduate with my master's degree, and a friend of mine said, hey, can you configure this firewall for me? And I just looked and was like, hey, you got the manual? And you want to talk about a humiliating moment, even though that's not what he was trying to do to me?
Oh, yeah, I get it.
It made me say, I don't really know this. No, I don't know how to do this stuff. So I had to find a way to strengthen my weakness. And the tools that I've used, podcasts such as this, listening to people, YouTube, finding a course here or there, free resources, paid resources. Oh, you know what? Let me pick up this book and read it. And let me do it. Let me break it. Thank God I can afford it. Let me break this and let me do what I got to do and see if I can fix it. The school of hard knocks. So just getting out there and doing it. And that's the interesting thing. Isn't that what the hackers do?
It is. Hackers ain't trying to get no A+ or whatever before they go off and do what they do. They just jump right in there, feet first.
One of the best hackers I know of, and I know several of them, he's been doing computers for like 32 years. He said he never read a book in computers. His father gave him a book. He just took it and put it on the side and just started poking at stuff. There's nothing he can't do on a computer. He's wicked smart. And then now today, some of the better hackers that I know of today, they do the same thing, but they're also now doing what's happening on this wheel. And a lot of them are teenagers, 16, 19 years old. Oh, I've been doing computers since I was 6. And they may not tell you how, but they'll hack into the school computer, cover their tracks, and all kinds of good stuff. Been doing it for years.
And the thing I like about this wheel, though, is that all of these components are there. And as you just mentioned, hackers do this stuff too, not because they have to, but because they know this is what's going to make them better. That's just the formula, to incorporate all of these things.
This is just my opinion based on something that was plaguing my mind at the time, but there could be more to add to this will, to subtract from the will. I doubt the subtraction, but I know that when I was in college, I did foundational knowledge. I didn't do anything in the technical skill arena. The soft skills were very limited. We had like a group project, I think once every 2 months or something like that. And we did 2 of them, and that was it. The challenges were just the exams and the test.
Yeah.
And that was book stuff. The challenges aren't what we have our students do today. Hey, we need you to escalate privileges and here's the IP address, and you got to crack the password first before you can do that. So that's going to give the people the hands-on knowledge that they want. That's going to give the employers what they're looking for. Someone that's a go-getter and willing to figure it out. I mean, not every problem that comes across our desk will we be able to figure out like that. But if you have this mindset already coming in the box, and in our Cyber Futures classes and in any program, if they teach like that, it's going to give that individual, all of the students, that much more confidence. And then hopefully they will become an effective and recognized cybersecurity professional. And they'll continue to enhance their skills all the way through their career. Because if you use this career, that's exactly what you will have to do. There's always a new product, a new software, a new whatever, and we have to start learning it.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. This wheel is not just for students; it's for seasoned professionals as well.
You and me forever.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. That was great.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Really good discussion. I appreciate it. And so if you all have any questions or anything, you can comment under the video. As I mentioned, all of the links are there under the video, so you can go please look at that podcast. I think it was absolutely wonderful. And read my article. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell so that you can be informed every time I go live. Thank you, Dr. Wesley Phillips. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Cheryl Abram, for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.